Vivagyantamidandasya Vinangana Shalakaya Chaksurnimilitam Jena Tasmai Sigurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Shwayam Rupakadamayam Dadanti Svapadantikam Jai Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakti Vrindam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. I am delighted, I am overjoyed, I'm experiencing something of ecstasy, being in the association of my dear godbrother Vaisesika Prabhu and Guru Ma, and all of the wonderful youth of ISV. Took me a while to understand. It means ISKCON Silicon Valley. And I'm feeling very blessed to be in your association, especially here. We're all experiencing so much emotion at this very sacred place, because it was here, as we read on the plaque over there, this is where our beloved Srila Prabhupada appeared on September 1st, 1896. Under this very tree, his mother gave birth. And today, there's just a few of us sitting here, acknowledging the significance of this place, but know for sure that one day, in the future, this place will attract the attention of the whole world. Just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread the glories of Lord Krishna around the world, so Srila Prabhupada spread the glories of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. And our duty in this previous time in history is to spread the glories of Prabhupada everywhere. It will attract the attention. It's going to be a little bit small when the world knows about it. If only because Srila Prabhupada said to my godbrother, Guru Das, that one day scholars will write how this movement saved the world in its darkest hour. He said that. I often quote that. One day this movement will save the world in its darkest hour. And it kind of feels like that darkest hour is coming. I don't know. So this is the place that Prabhupada took birth. But we would rather say this is where he appeared. Just like when we speak about Krishna's Janmashtami, we don't like to use the word birth because birth means someone's taking birth because of his past karma, it's his destiny. But the Lord doesn't take birth. He appears of his own sweet accord. So similarly, I don't like to use the word birth because Prabhupada's appearance is divine. His appearance is divine. One of my senior godbrothers, who was Prabhupada's secretary one time, he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada, and they were traveling from Nairobi, Kenya, to Bombay at the time, present-day Mumbai. And in those days, there was a lot of yellow fever in Africa. So before Prabhupada actually left India, he took a yellow fever vaccination. That's something a lot of devotees don't know about, anyway. And because he knew he would be traveling in different parts of the world. Before he got in the Jaladuta, he had a yellow fever vaccination in his arm. He carried that certificate with him everywhere, but when he was many years later in Nairobi, his secretary, who I won't mention his name, lost it. So when Prabhupada arrived into Bombay on that trip, the immigration, they asked, so you've come from Africa? Are you bringing yellow fever? Prabhupada said, no, I have a certificate. So they, he asked them, he said, so where's my, he asked the secretary, oh, Prabhupada, I forgot it. So they put Prabhupada into, what's it called? Quarantine. In the Bombay airport, they had a place, you had to stay there 14 days just to see if yellow fever didn't manifest. Prabhupada just accepted it, and he was staying in this, it wasn't a very nice facility. So one day the secretary came and he apologized, Prabhupada, I'm so sorry that, that I forgot the yellow fever vaccination. And Prabhupada said, yes, you are a rascal, you are nonsense. I never wanted to come to this nasty place. And then the servant guy, he told me he just felt like, like a germ or something. Prabhupada said, I never wanted to come to this nasty place. And then the servant again apologized. Prabhupada said, no, not this world. Dukkalayam shashvatam. This is a terrible place, temporary place full of so many miseries. I did not want to come. Then the servant said, wow, Prabhupada's talking about the whole material creation. It's too loud. So then Prabhupada said, yes, but I came because Krishna asked me to come. Krishna asked me to come. Govinda Maraj said one time, my dear godbrother, that there's two types of personalities, jivas, who come to this material creation to preach. One is who comes of his own accord. It appears that in Vaikuntha they're aware of what we're undergoing here. So one type of soul who comes from the spiritual world decides to come himself. And then Govinda Maharaj said the other type is the one who's asked by Krishna to come. Just like when you have an important mission, you choose your most qualified man. You carry on this mission. That's Srila Prabhupada. But Prabhupada said to Krishna, but I'm not very inclined towards austerity. And then Krishna said, Prabhupada's recounting this to the secretary. Prabhupada said, I'm not very inclined towards austerity. But then Krishna told me, Prabhupada said, it does not matter. You go down to the earth planet and you preach the science of Krishna consciousness, and I will take care of everything else. And so it was. You go down to the material world, you preach Krishna consciousness, and I'll arrange everything for you. So that happened. So it wasn't that Prabhupada's birth was like the birth of some ordinary conditioned soul, even a great conditioned soul. It was because he was ordered by the Lord to come. And because his appearance under this jackfruit tree, right here, his mother, Rajani, gave birth. He came. And my point this morning is, I don't want to take too much time, but my point is that actually his appearance was predicted. Prabhupada's appearance was predicted. Just as the Lord's appearance is predicted, the Lord's representative of the caliber of Srila Prabhupada, he can also be seen, can also be predicted. Thousands of years ago, this international society for, and I'm going to be quite straightforward, this international society for Krishna consciousness was predicted, namely by one of the Alvars. The Alvars were, 4,000 years ago, something like that. There were, how many? 9? 5,000. Nam Avatar. They're the original bhakti yogis, we would say in modern terms, appeared in India. One of those Alvars was named Nam Alvar. And in his book, Tiruvā Yomali 521, I found a quote. He shared a vision he had. This is amazing. Listen to his vision, his prediction of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He wrote, "Victory, victory! I behold something wonderful. All the inauspiciousness of the living entities is being destroyed. No one is going to hell. Yamaraj has no more work to do, and the effects of Kali Yuga have ceased to exist. This is because all over this world, an increasing number of Lord Vishnu's devotees are singing his names and dancing while playing musical instruments." Who's doing that? The International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Then in Chaitanya Mangala, in the section called Shruta Kanda by Srila Chandas Thakur, we hear the Yuga Avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, state that he will send his leading preacher abroad. Abroad means from Bharat, from India. He'll send his leading preacher from India to spread Krishna consciousness around the world. It's just following that prediction. And there's a clear reference to Srila Prabhupada. And in those writings of Lochan Das Thakur, we hear Lord Chaitanya speaking of his descent. Chanting of the name and qualities of Krishna is the life and energy of Vaishnavas. I will reveal these activities and rejuvenate pure devotional service unto myself while he's on the earth. In this way, I will destroy all the sins of Kali Yuga. So all of you, my associates, go ahead and take birth on the earthly planet before my advent and don't remain behind. We know if we study the lives of the 6 Goswamis, they're male personalities, but they all have their eternal spiritual identity as manjaris. And he's speaking to the Gopas also. All of you, let's go to the earth planet and have Harinam Sankirtan. Then he continues, taking the sharp sword of the congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Nama Sankirtan, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of the conditioned souls. If some sinful people escape and giving up religious principles go to far-off countries, then my Senapati Bhakta, Senapati it's a term, it means like a military field commander, we would say in our terms a general. My Senapati Bhakta will come at that time and give them Krishna consciousness. So who has done that? Srila Prabhupada. Single-handedly. Generally a general has his army. There was no one. Prabhupada came alone. Later we're going to go to the docks where Prabhupada left. Just his son was there saying goodbye. I sometimes envision 33 million demigods sending Prabhupada off to the West. So that we see as history goes on, that original vision of Namalvar, it's coming to pass. Because then in 1885, Bhaktivinoda Thakur confirmed that this paramount prediction of Namalvar was going to happen. In his Sajjani Toshani, chapter 4, verse 3, he writes, listen to this. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Very soon, the unparalleled path of Sri Harinam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the world. It wasn't even being propagated in Bengal. It had been lost through the annals of time. But he's jumping ahead. Triganakala, these pure devotees, they can see past, present, and future. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, very soon the unparalleled path of Nam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the world. Oh, for that day when the fortunate French, Russian, German, and American people will take up banners, mridangas, and kartals and raise kirtan through their streets and towns. When will that day come? And I remember historically it was 1973, I think it was the first, or maybe 74, it was the first big Mayapur festival. Prabhupada ordered it. The devotees come from all over the world. We all came, many Sankirtan devotees, and Chutnanda Swami at the time. We were going to go on Harinam, so then he read this to us, spoke it. And we went down Bhakti Siddhānta Road, and it was just a dusty path at that time, from our Mayapur temple down to the Yoga Pith. And we went out, and suddenly, from out of the Yoga Pith, came this big kirtan party of Bengalis, who obviously knew of these predictions. And I remember, I think I saw it as an historic moment. They saw us and we saw them, and because this statement by Bhaktivinoda Thakur was in our minds, was etched in our hearts, as Sankirtan devotees, We ran towards each other. You know, sometimes you see devotees running with kirtan on the Harinam. You know, we were like 400 devotees. They were like 200. And these two Sankirtan parties, Bengalis and foreigners, we rushed, we ran, and we boom! And I remember devotees were falling off because the road's kind of like that, you know, like a gully there. They were rolling off with, you know, embracing the Bengali devotees, and that kirtan, I'll never forget that kirtan. That was something amazing. It went on and on in the boiling sun, you know. Went on and on. Very soon the unparalleled path of Namasankirtan will be propagated all over the world. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German, and American people take up banners, mridangas, and kartals and raise kirtan to their streets and towns. And I was in the middle of the kirtan shooting under. I was thinking, it's happening, and I got very emotional. It's happening. I'm a witness. And soon after, because he made that prediction in 1885, soon after Prabhupada was born, he appeared. And we take that as no coincidence. That's not a coincidence. In a room conversation with the Canadian ambassador to Iran on March 13th, 1975, listen to what Prabhupada said, with humility. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the first origin of this movement. It's a very poetic way of saying he's the pioneer. He was the first origin of this movement, but he simply thought of it. And he was expecting that some others would be willing to take up this work. Well, somebody says that I am that same man. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Somebody says that I am that man because I was born in 1896, 12 months after the prediction. In 1896, let us remember, that was the year that Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent his book, Lord Chaitanya's Life and Teachings, to the Western world. And Prabhupada was born in that same year. He sometimes mentioned that this book was written and sent. And he said, I was born the same year. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because we're all, especially all of you under Vaisesika Prabhu's direction, you're all at heart Sankirtan devotees. You're the heartbeat of this movement. You're carrying on the desire of all the acharyas through the centuries who prepared for this prediction to actually become manifest. And I believe from afar, watching and blessing us. Let it be known that because in that year, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote that book and sent it to libraries around the world, he's the first book distributor in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya to sell books in the Western world. Let's give him a big round of applause. So our Srila Prabhupada was the person expected and entrusted as the Senapati, the commander-in-chief of Lord Chaitanya's army. No one can contest that. As per the instruction he received from Krishna in the spiritual world. Actually, I believe he knew he was destined for the seva after he took birth. That we can also verify by the subway conductor, Mr. Rubin. I found out who it was. We've heard about the guy who sat on the bench, and Prabhupada was on the bench, and they had a conversation in 1965 when Prabhupada arrived. His name was Mr. Rubin, and he was a subway conductor taking his lunch break. He sat on the bench next to Prabhupada in 1965, and he recounted. It gives us an idea how Prabhupada knew who he was, although he never stated like that, but he knew, he understood. Mr. Rubin recounted, he, Srila Prabhupada, seemed to know that he would have temples filled with devotees. He was alone, Prabhupada. Didn't even have a charter for the winter cold. He would look out on the bench and say, I'm not a poor man, I'm rich. There are temples and books. They are existing. They are there. But only time is separating us from them. So Prabhupada knew. And the fulfillment of these prophecies from the Namalvars, from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and from Prabhupada himself, they were also confirmed in recent times. We're going back thousands of years, hundreds of years, and now in recent times, Prabhupada's service was predicted. These prophecies were all confirmed by who? By many of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers. We hear there was some difficulty in the Gaudiya Math, and sometimes some were not appreciative, but there were many godbrothers who were appreciative. An introduction speech I found by Dr. O.B.L. Kapoor. In Vrindavan, he spoke at a function, October 15th, 1972. It's 2 paragraphs, but let me state it here at this historic place. Dr. Kapoor, he said to the distinguished people of Vrindavan, it was a big meeting, the return back to our homeland of Vrindavan by Srila Prabhupada, he called him, is particularly significant because this time he comes back with a host of his Western disciples whom we only heard about. This is really a rare moment in history, isn't it? For the first time in the history of the world, for the first time at least in living memory, Vrindavan, the message of Vaishnavism, the message of Mahaprabhu, the message of devotion and pure devotion has been carried to the West, carried there so successfully by Srila Prabhupada. I am sure that historians in the future will have a lot to say about Prabhupada and his movement, and they will even be envious of us for living in a time when this movement was begun and for participating in it. People will be jealous. Oh, these youth at ISV, they grew up at a time when they were being directed into the Sankirtan movement by Vaisesika Prabhu and his godbrothers and godsisters to spread this movement. They'll be jealous of you. Oh, I wish I was born at that time. Just like some devotees say, man, I wish I was here when Prabhupada was here. So in the future, they'll also be jealous that the Sankirtan movement really started exploding in the last decades. They call the Hare Krishna explosion. Another godbrother, B.V. Puri Maharaj, he was speaking one time about Prabhupada, recorded, I listened to it. He said, and what about the qualities he had, Prabhupada? All devotional qualities he possessed. And that we can know him, that he is great, just by seeing his preaching. Less than 10 years. There is no history, no recording anywhere of such a feat. Preaching in 10 years, he has established the divine name everywhere, as was told by Mahaprabhu's future prediction, which I quoted. And Prabhupada himself hinted in a very humble way at his extraordinary service. On a morning walk in Nellore, it's a big city, India, January 4th, 1976, a devotee said, Prabhupada, they say that if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Krishna consciousness in Western countries, why didn't he go there himself? They're walking on the beach. Prabhupada stops. He puts his cane in the sand, lifts his head up like some great personality. Prabhupada replied, he left the credit for me. And then he laughed. He left the credit for me. In other words, he wanted me to do it. Many are called, but few are chosen. And what credit we must give him for fulfilling the simple instruction of his spiritual master, but it was pregnant with so much history and meaning and significance. We're going to go there later. Prabhupada came to see his Guru Maharaj for the first time. And that building's been renovated. In the very moment Prabhupada walked in, there was no time to lose. All these acharyas have a sense of urgency because Kali Yuga is advancing very quickly. We have to catch up and override Kali Yuga, fulfill the prediction. Simple instruction. Even before Prabhupada got up from his obeisances, you look like a nice, educated young man. Why don't you preach the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the English-speaking language? And later on, at Radhakund, if you ever get money, distribute books. So in conclusion, we can see that Prabhupada was the emissary who Krishna personally chose. His appearance in this world was not a birth, it was an appearance. It was predicted, his movement, Namalar. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the pioneer of this movement, who revitalized, he foresaw this commander-in-chief appearing. But Prabhupada, from those simple instructions of Bhakti Siddhānta Sarasvatī, he went above and beyond the call of duty. This is a term we heard in the military. Every soldier wants to go above and beyond the call of duty. How did Prabhupada go above and beyond the call of duty? He had his books not only in English, but he ordered them, and to some degree during his lifetime, had them translated into all the major languages of the world. That supersedes the instruction of Bhakti Siddhānta Sarasvatī. He did more than the English language. French, German, Russian, Spanish. And recently in South Africa, we are printing books of Prabhupada in the Zulu language. A Zulu. Unkulunkulu. I met the leader of the Zulu people, Chief Goodwill, powerful man, I think 35, 40 million Zulus in South Africa and KwaZulu-Natal. I had the opportunity to meet him. We had a discussion. He said, Maraj, he was a good Christian. Maraj, what do you call God in your language? And your Sanskrit language, what do you call God? I said, well, God has many names according to his attributes, his pastimes, his qualities, but the principal name of God, according to Jīva Gosvāmī, the original name of God is Krishna. He said, oh, very nice, Krishna. I said, King Goodwill, what do you call God in the Zulu language? He went, we call it unkulunkulu. You can say Maraj? Oh, yeah, unkulunkulu. No, unkulunkulu. I said, what does it mean? I said, it means, he said, it means that person who has the most cows. That's right on. I said, another name for Krishna is Govinda. He said, oh, I like this Krishna. So, and then, just a little while later, he passed on. He left this world. Let me go back to where I was here, because I have some more quotes for you. So, we are blessed to be his modern day representatives. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. He got another instruction, if you ever get money, print books. So Prabhupada had one of the books distributed. So you're doing the books. You think that Prabhupada's not aware of that? Of course he's aware of that. And he's blessing all of you to do it, because these things cannot be done unless one gets the Gaur Shakti, the internal energy, internal potency of Lord Chaitanya. And that's why you can't stop doing Sankirtan. Sankirtan's not easy. People came to this world to forget God. They're forgetful of God. Some of them are reviving it gradually, but people come to this world to forget God, and you're going out reminding them or telling them to remember God. It goes against, it's like, well, what are they saying? Against the grain when you're doing carpentry work. But why do you keep doing it? Because you're getting that empowerment from the Lord. You feel that energy, and you enjoy sharing this message of Krishna consciousness. So Senapati, we could say, but what about the other personalities? Well, they can also be seen as Senapati. Each one of our acharyas is his own way, has made it possible for us to go out and distribute books. Each gave his contribution to the centuries, each acharya. Why Srila Prabhupada? Well, even his own spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur, was pleased to acknowledge the service of our Prabhupada and give credit to his beloved disciple. In a room conversation in Vrindavan, June 17, 1977, he said, and Prabhupada's quoting him, in a room conversation in Vrindavan, June 17, 1977, Prabhupada wrote how his spiritual master acknowledged his service in a humble way, because we always give credit to our spiritual masters. Prabhupada said, and in my horoscope there was written there, after 70th year this man will go outside India and establish so many temples. I could not understand. What is this that I have to go outside India? It's not possible. But my Guru Maraj foretold. He told my godbrothers, especially Sridhar Maharaj and others, this Sabai, he'll do the needful when the time comes. Nobody requires to help him. He will do it all alone. Prabhupada said, he told that in 1935. And after all, this has come true. Guru Maharaj told, and in the beginning, first sight, he told, you have to do this. So, this is Srila Prabhupada. We could go on for hours. I think I've stolen some time here, but to be the servant of a glorious master is one's highest achievement, and it comes with a significant responsibility. In the future, you're the ones who are going to carry on. You're the next generation. Maybe, I don't know, we talk about the second generation of devotees. I think you're the third or fourth now. But this responsibility will be given to you. It's like that race where there's 4 people racing, representing their team. They go, each one goes around one time the track, and the baton is given. So we are giving you the baton in this lifetime by inspiring you, by bringing you to these places of huge historic significance. The place where Prabhupada appeared under this jackfruit tree. Please be encouraged, please be inspired. Please take up the baton in future years. You continue this as the honored representatives of Srila Prabhupada. For me, this is one of the most important places in creation. Like for me, the most important place in this creation, the most holy place, the most significant place. And there are many. There's 16 billion holy places in Braj. And there's Mayapur. And there's all the temples in South India. But for me, the most significant place is Prabhupada's Samadhi at our Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan. Because without his grace, I wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here, this Sankirtan movement wouldn't be here. The glories of Krishna no one would know. So each year, when I come back home, back to Vrindavan, my first stop is Prabhupada's Samadhi, and I give a report. I know Prabhupada's hearing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was asked one time, do the ancient sages in days of yore, when we prayed to them, did they hear us? And I read that, I thought, I can't wait for the answer. So I covered the page. I just like, can they hear us? And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur replied, yes, the sages of yore can not only hear you, but they reciprocate with you. So that's for me, it's the most important day of the year. I go and I say, Prabhupada, I've done this, and I'm waiting for your next instruction. And actually we all want to go back to the spiritual world because that's Prabhupada wanted us to come back to the spiritual world. But I always think that how can we go to the spiritual world and ask for service when we haven't yet completed the service of our Guru Maharaj in this world? So let us all work together, your generation, your children, your grandchildren. Let's all work as one team and fulfill all the desires of Srila Prabhupada. For books in everyone's house, sets of books in everyone's house. That's your Prabhupada Desh. ISKCON Silicon Valley, that whole area. Gurukuls all over the world, farms all over the world, cows protected all over the world, people stopping abortion and meeting. We have a lot of work to do. So Janme Janme Prabhu She, Prabhupada, you will be my master. Birth after birth. Let us think like that. And when all is done and accomplished, we can come before him and say, Srila Prabhupada, your mission is accomplished in this world. What would you like me to do next? Come to this next universe. Okay. My godbrother Adi Adi Shekhar, he was a bhakta, knew Mayapur. Prabhupada was giving darshan. And he was a new bhakta. He raised his hand when Prabhupada asked for questions. And he said, Prabhupada, where are you going to go when you die, Swamiji? And we all looked. I said, that's not an appropriate question, bhakta, whatever. Prabhupada said, oh, I plan to go to the lower planetary systems, to Patala Loka, to continue preaching the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the order of my Guru Maraj. And I thought, Prabhupada, I want to follow you. Because wherever you are, that's Vaikuntha. That's Goloka Vrindavan. So take this trip here to India very seriously. We're not, you know it, we're not ordinary tourists. We've come here to be inspired under the direction of your spiritual masters, to be the next generation, to carry the baton, spreading this wonder movement. You are all blessed to be part of the prediction. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.